all the states are getting smart. They're saying, we're not taking your sludge. You don't want to take our sludge? We're not going to take your sludge. Yeah. So what do you do with it? The stuff is just going to keep piling up.
Apparently you elect it. Put it in the state house.
It's already full.
Welcome to Cumberland Unfiltered. My name is Gary, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Jason and Brad. Our guest is a lifelong Rhode Islander. He graduated from North Providence High School in 1985 and URI in 1989 with a degree in electrical engineering. He still lives in the house he bought in Narragansett in 1998. From owning his own Subway restaurant to his time at American Power Conversion to his founding of Complete Sourcing Solutions in 2001, he learned that the right people, the right processes, and persistence are the keys to success. Today, he is the general manager of the 4,500-member Bonnet Shores Beach Club in Narragansett. From New Shoreham to North Kingstown, he wants to help strengthen Rhode Island communities and small businesses while protecting the coastline and character that makes the Ocean State a special place to live. Please welcome to the table the next Senator of Rhode Island District 36, Mark Mesrobian.
Thank you, Gary.
I enjoyed that part.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, one of my start-off questions normally is, this position that you're going after is like a pretty fancy-dancy thing, and not too many people are senators in Rhode Island. So I'm curious what it was that made you decide to take this huge step.
Well, like a lot of people, Gary, I think I wasn't happy with the direction that the state is heading in. And also a lot of people, it's not if I wanted to get involved, but when I would get involved. I'm already pretty established. My business has been around since 2001. I'm the general manager of Bonnet Shores Beach Club. So I have a little bit of free time on my hands, and I decided to enter the political race. That was a joke. This is like a third full-time job. Running.
Keep up the delivery.
Right. Running. You were a Seinfeld fan, so that's Seinfeld. And so
It's a lot more here.
Maybe I should bring it down a little bit to suit the audience.
Most of our audience knows Seinfeld. That's when you look at the demographics. It's like most of them know. Know Seinfeld.
But most importantly, Gary, I don't think that our district is being represented by our current senator. And she's very progressive, and I think that a more moderate voice would be what Narragansett, North Kingstown, and Block Island is really looking for. So I'm here to serve the people and not an agenda or the party. I'm running as a Democrat, but I'm thinking pro-business, moderate is the lane that I'm trying to establish for myself.
All right, very good. It's along the DeMario, right? That's who you are?
It is,
yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So when you made your decision, this is a real dedication of time when the time comes, right? And then plus all of the work you're doing on campaigning. How's the campaigning going so far? I know that it's a ways away but September is going to be here before you know it. Are you in a primary?
Well, I am. So I'm in the Democratic primary against Alana DeMario. But the campaigning has started back in November. We established ourselves in early November, and we had our first event at the Metatuxet Yacht Club, where we had over 250 people in November, and in December we raised close to $70,000. We ended up being on the front page of the Providence Journal after our kickoff, and at the time, because my cousin David Takoyan is the majority whip in the Senate, and there was about 7 other sitting senators. So the Journal Bulletin below the fold had an article that said, how is a first-time candidate able to attract so many people and so many powerful politicians to his kickoff campaign? And then, they tried to surmise some scenarios, but it was something that I looked at and said, wow, this is going to be interesting, that if this kickoff was able to generate that much interest, I think we have something really special behind us. And second event we did in March, we had over 200 people at Dragon Palace in North Kingstown. We raised another substantial amount of money. Just a few days ago at Bonnet Shores Beach Club, we had another event, 250 plus people showed up. And these are not just people to support me. These are also people that can vote for me.
Yeah.
So it's important. We're raising a lot of money. We're getting a lot of people to our events, and I'm doing also a lot of videos that I put out on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and just these 1 minute with Marks, I call them.
Nice.
And just I look at policies, and I just try to pick the pros and cons of what they're doing, and a lot of times I find that there are ways to make improvements. So, I'm trying to be kind about it, but a lot of the things that are being promoted as pro-business, I look at that and go, that's not really pro-business. How does that make any sense?
I do something called A Minute with Jason, but it's got nothing to do with politics.
You're right.
Wow, that's a bad.
So you gotta work on the delivery.
The note to self. Right.
So, oh, that's great though. That's a testament to the support you have down there. I mean, obviously, people are coming to your back.
Well, the thing we found
support.
out, he says he didn't come out of the woodwork. He's been involved, just didn't have the chance to run.
Right.
It's like, when you ran for mayor, we had all these people that came support that wanted to run, but it's not the right time. It's not the right time. And you say, when is the right time? They're like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 years. You're like, when you hit 8 or 10 years, you think that's an eternity.
Yeah.
And it's not really. It goes by quicker than you think. Right. And, so you probably were involved in your community and everything long before you decided to finally do it, long before you had the time to finally do it.
I'm pretty well established in Narragansett. I've been down there since 1989 when I first graduated from URI. The first thing I did out of college with an electrical engineering degree was, like everybody else would do, is open a Subway sandwich shop. And that was something that when I went to my parents and said, this is what I want to do, they looked at me and go, you just studied for 4 years electrical engineering.
Accomplishment.
Right. Well, thank you. And they said, this is what you want to do. And at the time, engineering and the economy was kind of in a tailspin. Yeah. And what was happening is a friend of mine came to me and he said, would you like to go into business together? And it's interesting how life chooses your path for you, because I had been interviewing at Raytheon, and I had gone to my third interview. If they had offered me the job at Raytheon, I probably would have taken that one, and I'd be sitting behind a desk somewhere with a calculator and a pencil doing engineering.
Right.
And instead, I had no opportunities. I said to my parents, this is what I'd like to try. They said, all right, we're going to support you. And we went into the sandwich business, and after doing that for about 5 years, I decided I like eating sandwiches more than making sandwiches. And it's interesting because you're dealing with the public, and you just, no matter what your background is, you're the guy behind the counter making sandwiches for somebody else. So how you're treated by people, it's kind of, it's exactly right. It's some people treat you, kindly. Other people look at you and they, similar to what happens on social media. I've been called some names on social media, on Facebook, that I had to look up. I didn't even know what they meant. And I'm like, ooh, that's not a nice word.
That's one of the things that we found out when Brad was running for mayor and Jason was running for the school committee, was that people are really brave when they go to the computer and say things because they don't take response. They use a fake, like a nick.
Alias
Drives him up a tree.
Drives me up a wall.
Right.
I tend to not even respond.
Yeah, the only time Brad ever is when people start doing that. It's the only time you ever come back if you want to hammer them back again. But
Like, hey, put your name on that.
that's so easy to do that because and I don't think it's necessarily positive in any way, shape, or form, because we got a couple of things on Facebook during the campaign, and they were people coming out of the woodwork, and they were actually lying and fibbing. But if enough people lied and fibbed about something, then it became true.
Right.
What the truth wasn't important. It was what they spun it to be.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons, that was the genesis of this, and that we figure we're here, we can get ahead of stuff and we can talk about the good stuff and not get bogged down, and then they can't really get after us about it. I mean, because
They try. They did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
in the beginning,
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah. We had, in the beginning, we had a podcast, and then I had, over the course of 2 school committee meetings, I had 70 teachers come and protest. Just from something we said on the podcast that was public information, but I said to an open forum. And I also put the agendas on Facebook once in a while, and the rest of the school committee is like, you should do that. It's a public agenda.
Right.
You don't even know. Well, that is no. I put some controversial things the school committee is going to go over. I put it on Facebook, and you'll get hundreds of likes. hundreds of comments, and nobody shows up. So I'm not sure what effect social media has on elections. I don't know. I didn't have a social media account when I ran, and I did pretty well. We had a bunch of different ones for Brad, So I'm not sure the importance of it. I think a lot of it's reputation. It sounds like you have a good reputation down in your district.
I do, and thank you. But I think that social media does have a lane in this.
I'm sure it does. Yeah,
and it just generates awareness. And the way I look at it is I want. I have some billboards out on North Kings. I have billboards out there, and I plan on when I come up to somebody's house, knock on the door, then they open the door and they go, I know this guy, I know his face, or I know his voice, and that's from the videos that I do. Videos are getting thousands of views, and with somebody with it's a political account, so it's got like 650 followers on Instagram, and almost 1,000 followers on Facebook. The amount of views that it gets is oversized compared to because it's being shown to a lot of other followers because I happen to be very charismatic. And Facebook tends to like the content that I'm putting out.
Nice.
And it's just another way to reach people, and it's kind of cheap.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's really cheap.
It is, yeah. To boost that stuff and then on Facebook.
You don't even if you put something out there that is of interest to people, you don't even have to boost it.
No, you're right. So it'll just run.
It just runs on its own organically.
Because it's funny, I see your stuff pop up all the time, right? I have yet to see anything from your opponent. Like, I don't know.
She may not be doing it, so don't give her the encouragement to do that.
No, absolutely not.
Right.
I was just wondering if she's working.
Yeah, it's interesting. We happen to live on the same street in the same neighborhood in Narragansett, and she's a 3-term incumbent, and I don't think she's a bad person. I would never say that about anybody that's run for office, because that's a big commitment that anybody has to do. But I've never met her. So we live on the same street, and this is her 3rd term in office. I've never met her, and a lot of people say they've never met her. So
She may not be the press the flesh type of person, and
Yeah, we got one of those here. We got Ryan Pastor. I mean, nobody even knows who the heck he is in town, even though he's born and raised in Cumberland.
oh, was he from here?
Yeah, born and raised, and nobody knows who he is. And you're right. It's like, cause I had a lot of that. It's like, I'm all over the town, so it's like
Everybody knows you.
People know me. They know who I am.
absolutely.
It's even the guy I ran against. I mean, you never see him out at Chops or at Davenport's. Like, I never see him anywhere. He was just not out there. Oh yeah, Greg's a good guy. Great guy.
So one of the things that I think Narragansett probably has an issue with that we do in Cumberland is I don't want to say foreigners because they're Americans, but people from outside coming in. We have it because we're so close to Boston and we're such an easy commute to Boston. You have it just because rich people want to live on the the ocean. They can't vote, or can they vote? Because we have people that are actual residents here that come in. And they don't really pay attention to what's happening in Cumberland. They more pay attention to what's happening in Massachusetts or where they came from. And then it's tough to get their attention. You have that from probably New York, I would imagine. Like I last time I checked, there was a lot of investment from New York. People from New York come to
New York,
and Connecticut, buying in Narragansett.
Narragansett and North Kings are a little bit affluent communities, so we do have some of that. We have also residents who are no longer Rhode Island residents. They've moved to their primary residence might be Florida now, North Carolina, and their primary home that used to be up here in Rhode Island. For tax reasons, they belong elsewhere. Right, so they might not vote. But these people are still. I tell everybody, you might have left Rhode Island, but Rhode Island isn't letting you leave. Because you still have the Taylor Swift tax. For if you still have real estate back in the state, then today the tax might be on $1 million. But who knows if the wrong General Assembly comes in next year? It could be $750,000. It could be $800,000. It could be $650,000. Who knows what direction that's going to go in? So I think it's important to put people in place that don't want to penalize success, don't want to penalize people who have been who have worked hard and who have become successful. That's how I look at it. There's nothing aspirational about a millionaire's tax or about taxing success. At one point, my opponent was proposing, this was back in January, a wealth tax. Now I have a video that I'm going to queue up on that, but a wealth tax, and it doesn't impact a lot of people. It's 25 million or more of assets, and then they take a percentage of all your assets, whether they're liquid or not. They're proposing it in California and in other states. New York is doing the same thing.
Oh my gosh.
But it did
Just because you own it was worth
it didn't go out of committee, but most people say tax the millionaires and they don't deserve to have what they have. But that 25 million is a sliding number. That could be anything. It could be 5 million. It could be, look at our estate tax. Our estate tax is $1.4 million. So that's a very low bar. You own a home in Rhode Island.
You're there now.
Oh, yeah. Or
Halfway there. Yeah.
if you're in South County, you're there now.
Yeah.
So it's just, even though a policy might not impact people today, it's important to put the right people in these seats because tomorrow could be a different story. If you get more progressives into the General Assembly, then God knows where we're going to head.
Oh, I agree. And heaven forbid you control spending, right? Like, I mean, obviously this $15 billion budget just passed, which is insane for a state with 1 million people in it. It's like, heaven forbid we actually look at cutting something.
Right.
It's like, nope, just keep piling on top. And like I said, that's how they make up the difference. It's because I think we had a $14 billion budget and we had $300 million in the hole. It's like, how the hell are you in the hole? $300 million with a $14 billion budget. It's like, look at what you're spending your money on.
We ended up 233 million ahead. So the budget wasn't in the deficit. It was actually ahead 233 this year at the end of 2026. And they looked at what to do with the money. And instead of returning it or cutting spending, they ended up just reinvesting, rolling it over to the next budget. So, and part of that 233 was found in May, and what happened in April? Everybody filed their taxes, and what happened in 2025? People did well with the stock market, so it's all capital gains. So you're building a budget that's structurally deficient because it's not built on real money. It's built on capital gains from the stock market. What if the stock market has a bad year? All of a sudden, that money is not there anymore.
Yep.
So,
But the expense is still there.
yeah,
They're covered.
yeah.
Yep.
Because, like you said, Brad, there's no talk of ever spending or even just doing audits.
Yeah.
I think the inspector general is a great concept. But this legislator, what did they do? They said you can investigate everybody but us.
Yeah, everybody but us. I know. I say,
All right, well,
that's like, what are you trying to hide?
yeah, exactly. That's not very. Anybody that has a common sense would say that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Especially they just came out with this $64 billion in fraud that they've uncovered in the last month or so, like that. I saw that on the news.
Was that nationally or was that?
nationally? Yeah, it's national. That's so far, so.
Oh, that's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you right now, people wouldn't do it if they knew somebody was going to be looking at it.
Correct. Well, accountability, right? Like, there's no accountability. I feel like as politicians get away with murder, they do
Well,
what
it's
they want.
not just the politicians, but it's the people that administer the programs.
Everybody else that they put in place.
Get their 10% off the top and all this other
They
stuff.
hire their buddies and their buddies and stuff like that.
That's how it goes.
It's
exactly right.
You're beholden to them.
Yeah, they said there were some hospice centers that they
California. I say that.
and these people were in hospice for like years and years and years, and they're getting paid. And then they dove in. They found out they actually died. And not there anymore. But we've been paying them, still paying on hospice.
And by asking that question, you're not saying you don't want to help people. You're just saying with some accountability.
No, I'm saying you do want to help people. You want to take that money and you want to put it to the people that are still alive that can use
And
it.
deserve it.
Yeah, and deserve it.
And need it.
But not to get off housing. One of the things that the ADU thing, where ADUs I think are great. One of the things I saw in some of the literature you put out was that, the town has to have the infrastructure. I think in Cumberland, so our town council, they voted against the ADUs, against state law, which will never hold up, but they did it. I agree with the ADUs, the way it was written previously about if you have an ailing parent or a disabled child, you should be able to get the ADU. But the question is, after your ailing parents pass, or your child no longer needs the ADU, what do you do with it? You need to be able to rent it. You're not going to build a $200,000 ADU to just sit there and rot afterwards. So there was no mechanism for that. The state took that out and just said, build an ADU, rent it. Our infrastructure in Cumberland right now would be very, very taxed if we would have stopped building ADUs. Our school system, our Jesus Christ, our water lines break every 3 days.
Big guys.
You know what I mean? There's traffic now in Cumberland that we haven't had been.
it's
It's getting very bad. So it's a good concept. Like in your literature it says that I support it if the infrastructure is there. You guys in Narragansett have an additional hurdle, which is the Airbnb problem, or even the college rentals. Brad and I grew up. Brad's father had a house on Westwood Look, and Eastwood Look. Well, my grandmother had one on Eastwood Look.
Yeah, she was in the other one.
The other
She was
side.
in
That's
New
why
Eastwood.
I thought it was
Eastwood Look,
yeah.
Eastwood Look, yeah.
Yeah. So she had, and back when they first built there, it was like the Eastwood Look on her side was the new one, the old one, and there were like 3 houses. Everything else was cat nine tails, and we would play and we would make a fort.
Yeah.
Then it started to build up, and then people came in and moved and lived there. As we became teenagers, it turned into, short-term college, and in the summer it turned into summer rentals. So my grandfather passed, but my grandmother lived there. She knew none of her neighbors.
Right.
If she had a problem, she would go talk to them. They didn't care because they weren't the homeowner. So how are you guys with the housing crisis? How are you guys tackling that issue where now it's you could have a house that is only occupied during the summer and then the rest of the year it's empty, yet you have college and high school graduates that are looking for places to live in the hometown they grew up in, but they can't find something that's affordable because of the demand.
Right. Affordable housing is an issue in South County, I think, all over the state, to be honest with you. And it's causing the other downstream effects, like the school system is shrinking because there are no young families moving into the area, especially Narragansett. And so, the high
It has to
school.
be established already. You have to
You can't afford to buy a house in South County. It's no longer a starter community, so now you have an older population, and that older population is kind of incentivized to keep other people from coming in. And then you're having these properties that have been in people's hands for a generation. They were, cost nothing when they were first built, and now they're worth a ton of money. So these businesses are coming in, these LLCs and stuff, and buying them, turning them into those short-term rentals. But you hit the nail on the head about the infrastructure. We've been in a drought condition in Narragansett for about 2 years now, and it used to end in at the end of summer, and now just because the college kids roll in, it has more to do with, I think, by design, not adding enough of the water towers to supply the water needed for the town to keep growth at a standstill.
Yeah.
So short-term rentals are an issue in South County, and I think that one-size-fits-all ADU from the legislation from the state needs to be altered so each city or town can decide for themselves what works best for them. Because now they're starting to do, there's pushback. They're starting to have legislation that allows a city or town not to follow the state the rules, which is like, I think 5 unrelated adults in a home. In Narragansett, they would prefer 3 unrelated adults just to keep that number down. But it's unless we have representation that what the people in the district want, it's not going to change.
Yeah. How do you get that information out? How do you get people because the problem with these corporations, if they buy up all the property, there's nobody you can really talk to. You're losing I don't know how to say it, but the housing percentage, you're losing, how do you get your message out about that? You go door to door.
I mean, that's a tough issue though, because that's property rights. If somebody comes in and buys a home, and you have limited ability to tell them what they could do with that home, And if you're paying a lot of money for it, you might rent it out in the off season. So from September to May to cover your expenses. And then you come down there in the summer, because not everybody's from out of town that buys those houses. A lot of them are Rhode Island residents that have them for second homes, for beach houses, things like that.
No, I know. I remember your father and mother had that when, on Eastward Look. And they did it for a number of years, and then they just thought it was too much trouble. So,
Yeah, renting.
yeah.
But when they burned it down, they had the URI students in there, and
No kidding.
somebody fell asleep with the fire going, and they burned to the ground. So that was the end of rentals.
Oh, was that in Bonnet?
No, Eastwood Look.
Oh.
Old Eastwood Look.
Yeah.
I think the name over here on Gloucester Road. That's where it is.
But I think part of that is gonna be taken care of. URI was, I think Gilbane is building them more dorms on campus.
Yeah.
So part of the issue is working with the college or with the university to make sure that there's enough housing to meet the demand from all the students that are going there. Now they want to build a medical school at URI, and that's going to add even more congestion to the area, because that's just going to attract more people to South County.
There was a lot of money put in this year's budget to like $8 million to get something started down there on that. I don't know. And then everybody graduates from that med school and they go to Boston and they go to New York and they go to California. They don't stay in this state because they aren't giving you first.
I actually did a video on that where I said Rhode Island is about, and I'm a proud URI alum, so I like to see the university do well. But I said we're about to build a car factory when we need an oil change. And
That's just a good analogy.
and it's because maybe the first doctors that we graduate will be in 2040. So we need short-term primary care, in the short-term primary care physicians now. And until you get the reimbursement rates up, because all you hear about is in Massachusetts and Connecticut, they make 20% more. So I know in my business and at Bonnet Shores, our healthcare inflation was about 16% last year. So that didn't even address any of the concerns with reimbursement rates. Imagine if you did tackle that on top of just regular inflation in healthcare. It's out of control right now.
It is out of control.
Yeah, well, if they put $8 million in it, they're looking to probably increase that in years to come, and that would suggest that they're going to do it. I don't know. Is there a vote coming up on that? Is there some kind of
They funded the study for it, and now URI is on the hook to raise. They have to raise a significant amount of money. I think it's like to the tune of $200 million for their piece of it. The state is going to put in part of the money. I'm sure they're going to raise bonds for it, and URI has to raise money to do it. So it's a tall order for the school, because
it's a done deal. I mean,
that $8 million isn't
kind of gives you the indication,
yeah,
right?
that's
That's
real money.
where they're going. The guy is the Speaker of the House. I don't know if you say his name, Blazewski or what? Blazewski.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he was proud to talk about all these millions of dollars that he's channeling into these things, and I just look at them all, and I could write a retort that says why everything that he thinks is going to happen. 'Cause he doesn't know anything about poor people, and he's spending millions of dollars. He's sending money into that. I mean, I think that we should have a say if it's our dough, right? If it's our tax money, but I don't know. It gets harder and harder.
That's the problem though, like referendums, right? It's like
And
every
you-
election.
And that's
Where they pass a bond?
Yeah,
you
they
mean?
put 25 million here,
Some other
50 million in. They always pass.
Every single one.
And then people bitch about their taxes going up. And I'm like, well, stop passing these referendums. Their
Or have
taxes don't
$15
go-
billion budget. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just nuts. So
15 million.
that's going to be. They say that when you get in, that the rubber meets the road in terms of there's pressure constantly for you to go certain ways. I mean, are you prepared for that? Like, I mean, do you know where I'm going with that? I mean, someone that's been in there a long time, or one of your co-senators, or the person who's the president of the Senate, is that Val Lawson?
Awesome, yeah.
And she comes to you and says, well, Mark, you need to vote this way on it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I mean, are you prepared to say, my district doesn't want that and I'm not going to do it therefore, or how do you handle that?
I think I'm a reasonable person. My business has been around since 2001, and I have 4,500 constituents at Bonnet Shores Beach Club that I have to keep happy. So sometimes you have to do a little horse trading, and sometimes half a loaf is better than no loaf. I mean, you have to be realistic. everything depends on the votes. If you have the votes, you can move an agenda. If you don't have the votes, then I'm sure there were a whole bunch of senators this time around who were not happy with the budget, the $15.2 billion budget, but there were not enough votes in order to stop the budget. So if you don't have the votes, if you don't have enough support up there, then you're kind of stuck. So you can protest all you want, but then you lose your ability to help your constituents because you get put on an island.
Yeah, get a
Hey,
office in the
basement
basement. Is that what you were telling me, Brad? Like, you know,
exactly.
They
Basement office.
They punish you in certain different ways, but I don't know. That's what.
But you're right. The progressives got to go. Those are the ones that are making the.
But
poor
the top
decisions.
cat is progressive, and he's a Harvard guy.
Well, yeah.
You know what everybody knows about Harvard now. I mean, it's not necessarily a place you want your leader to be from.
Well, that's the problem.
They teach them all the wrong things there.
Those their mentality is not middle of the road. There's no compromise. And you see it on the federal level too. Like nobody reaches across the aisle anymore. They always call it the JFK Democrat. Where it was at least you could get in the same room and have a conversation. It's like I feel like that has been very limited with this progressive movement coming into play.
I just think there's no communication at all when you get to the federal level.
No,
and
nothing. Yeah.
I think that you have to talk to everybody. That's just how it works. That's life. There's no in my world. There's no black and white. Everything is gray, and everything has. There could be nuances to everything. You have to be open-minded.
No, I mean, and then you got to meet like-minded people and figure out strategies that you use and all that sort of thing. Because, I mean, there's the fact that there are so many Democrats. There's really rarely pushback on these things that come through. And like you said, in the Senate, they just kind of went along with the 15-2 that came out of the House. Right? So I don't. That's it would be nice to have the numbers closer so that there's X number of Republicans or whatever, so that it keeps everybody on their best behavior. But I don't see that happening.
I think the budget is already settled well before the vote takes place. So they already know the budget is going to pass. So all of that stuff happens throughout the year leading up to the budget, and whether you have the votes or not early on. And if your team is short a few players, then you're kind of stuck. Yeah. And that's the unfortunate part about it. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm running is because I want to lend some assistance to some of the moderate voices that are in the Senate right now.
Yeah.
I think they're underrepresented and they need help.
Agreed. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking about Bonnet Shores.
Great place.
So I get hungry. I'm like, oh. So my girlfriend went to Bonnet Shores a couple weeks ago for the Bryant meet and greet. She's a Bryant University Masters alum, and they had a function down there. And she came back with a bouquet of flowers. So was that you? Were you the guy that gave her a bouquet of flowers?
Of course, I give everybody a bouquet of flowers. Why wouldn't I? It never rains in Bonnet. It's like everybody's happy place. So I tell everybody it's a beach club. We're not running a prison camp. We might have a lot of rules and stuff, but it's a place where everybody's the same, everybody's equal. We're lucky we have a lot of powerful Rhode Islanders, members at Bonnet Shores Beach Club. When they're there at Bonnet, everybody looks the same in their bathing suits.
You don't want Brad there.
I was going to say somebody one of those. Yeah.
I think you'd have a good time there, though.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. 100%.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah, she was very impressed. She said it was beautiful. She took a bunch of pictures with the ocean in the background and said it was a very impressive place.
We probably have the best restaurant in Narragansett too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Nice. So we have it's a fun place.
I used past that area. I did a lot of time at Farnham, Camp Farnham.
Mm-hmm.
So I always used to see the signs, Bonnet Shores.
Yeah. This is my 4th season as the general manager there, and prior to that, I was the treasurer of the board. And so my experience in the management of the club has been about 10 years.
Nice.
And when I took over as treasurer, we were in a turnaround phase, and we've been generating surpluses every year since I was involved in the budget. And that's, it's
practice.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna be next.
And we're able to keep our assessment low, and we're also able to reinvest that money back into infrastructure and back into hardening the facility and making it more storm resilient and just every year the greatest compliment we get is, you guys, we can't believe we had such a great season last year. This year, you guys outdid yourselves again and again and again.
Yeah.
That's the consistent message that we get. And nobody is telling us to do that. The board's very supportive of what we do, but we're pretty much able to do what we think is right. And, that's how we operate the club. And financially, we're in really good shape. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we offer a really great experience, and people want to be down there and manage our money well.
Yeah, that's good, because I do think that the state, it's one giant economy, right? So it's like one big business. But I do like the fact that, obviously you have the business mindset in order to go in there, because you're right, you have to, it's good to have that experience when you're working with a budget that big. But I got a feeling there's a lot of fat in that budget anyway.
In the state budget?
In the state budget, yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of duplication everywhere. I'm sure you run a business. You have that. The first thing you do when you're trying to find the fat is, where's the duplication? Where are we being inefficient? There's those questions. It's not being a hard ass if you're asking those questions. No, those are just natural business questions that somebody should be asking. And I'm sure they do audits, but just, where are the results of these audits? I don't ever hear any place where we can cut anything. It just doesn't make sense.
And you're right, they should be doing an audit. Because there's a lot of fat in that budget that can be cut.
Well, I think it's called other people's money,
right?
When it's not out of their back,
it's not your own,
right? Then you could spend it like it's monopoly money. But when if they like what you do for the beach club is, you look at it as like an asset of your own, and you make sure that everything's, and then you plan things out and pay attention to 10 years worth of your service there, so that you can then know what needs to be done in that budget. I don't think any of that happens at the state level. I think that they just
The town level, never mind.
talk about town.
Yeah, for sure. I was saying like when Brad was running for mayor, there was a water main break over near, we call it Chops. It's Cumberland House of Pizza,
Yeah.
And, they fixed it in 3 days. It was over the 4th of July weekend. They fixed it in 3 days. And we have friends who do site excavation, who do that work. And I said, I asked them, emergency pay, what would it take? And I got range from $75,000 to $100,000. Then they had to pave with the paving. It was $370,000.
Yeah.
It's always spent. But the question is, where was the audit? Right. I get it. I get the bill matches up. We had a snowstorm for the schools. This big snowstorm this past winter, and we got a bill for $88,000, and they ended up
plowing or something
for plowing and management and this and that, and all kinds of shit. We already had a contract for people to remove the snow, but then we had to have an extra person to come, and I'm on the finance committee. I asked to look at the thing, and I'm like, what is okay, yeah, I get it. No, I get that the person that gave you the bill made the numbers make sense.
Yes.
I get that. But who's the person that's checking that? I get that they say there are 15 dudes with shovels. I get that. Who's the person who is checking that there were 15 dudes with shovels? Who's the person that's checking those paycheck stubs to see that 15 dudes with shovels got paid? They're just going to hand $80,000 to a company for 3 days of work.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? When we already had companies that were set that did go out and they were doing it, but no, you get an emergency bill. That's the problem with the government, is there's nobody to check up on it, nobody to verify. Trust and verify.
Right. No accountability.
So in the Army, we did a 10% check. 10%.
every year.
No, every time we did anything, like if you're getting ready for a mission, I'm the commander of the team going out. I'm gonna go pick 10% of the people. I'm gonna check. Give me your magazine. Look at their magazine. Make sure it's fully loaded. Make sure there's no dust in it. Put it back in. Give me your weapon. Check the weapon. Give me your canteen. Is the canteen full? If I get 100% on 10% of the people I check, then I'll just I'll just say it's calculated risk. The other 90%, because that means that their supervisors were doing their job. Their first line, second line supervisors were doing their job. You don't pick 10% from the same squad. You spread it out. There's none of that in local government. None of that.
No.
I remember seeing a story in the local news where a guy who worked for the town, not our town, but worked for the town in a local, I don't remember exactly what town, he was taking the backhoe from the town on the weekends, and he had his own company, had his own business doing sewers and doing this and doing landscaping. And he'd have it back on Monday and do his town job and then just take them. And he got caught, and they were like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "What do you mean? I'm just helping people out. Like, but you're getting paid."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, nobody's using it." You know what I mean? Like,
Nobody's
and you know, apparently he did that for years. You know,
Sounds like an entrepreneur to me.
exactly.
Guy we don't need.
That's the problem when you tell people that. Like, I tell people, like, "Oh, this guy charges $80,000 for snow removal," and they were like, "Well, if you could get it, wouldn't you get it?"
But that's the wrong mindset. That's got to change.
Well, the problem is too, like, it's even more important now to control the spending just because of the cost of everything going up the way it is. Like your utility bills, your gas bills, like you know, all that stuff is food. It's all through the roof right now. And it's like, you know, 'cause we had that conversation. Oh, it's only another $56.
Oh, yeah, 156.
Yeah, and it's like
1%.
Yeah, it's 156 from this, but then there's another 120 from this, another 200 from that, and it's like once you add it all up, it's a big number.
Yeah, the sewer went up, the water went up.
Yeah.
But there, you know, the power went up because.
Town doing that.
And that's a good question for you.
That.
That's a good question for, you know, a future state guy, you know, is what do you think about that green energy thing? Because Rhode Island Power, we went to a thing at the Cumberland Library. Rhode Island Power is blaming, you know, oh, it's this program and that program and this program. And the people that voted for those programs that, like, ultra inflated the you know, the energy bills were right there. And they were just letting Rhode Island Power kind of explain it away. Nobody came out and said, we got to stop this. This is garbage. You know, the green energy bill, which you guys are, I mean, you being from Narragansett, you get to see that every day. You're probably driving down the road, you get to see the stuff in the background, the windmills and.
I've talked about something called the Act on Climate, which that started in 2021, and that is to make us carbon neutral by 2050. But at 2030 and 2040, we have these metrics these numbers that we're supposed to hit, reductions, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
And the state is not willing to adjust those numbers, right? So it's there actually could be financial penalties for the state if we don't hit those numbers. We know we're not going to hit those numbers, and the only way to get CO2 reduction down is if you transform everybody's heat source in buildings, commercially and residentially, to heat pumps. So they want to take your oil heat, they want to take your gas, and they want to take your propane and turn it into heat pumps, which is electricity.
Yep.
The other big emitter of CO2 is the emissions from vehicles. So commercial vehicles and residential vehicles. They want everybody driving an EV. And that's just very expensive. You take the subsidies away, which just happened, the EV sales tanked. So people are not buying those. And then I look at it and say, well, what is the CO2 emissions? What's the United States' CO2 emissions to the world? It's about 9%.
We're good compared to every
So then you say, what is Rhode Island's participation in CO2 emissions to the U.S. number? And it's about 2%. And then if you look at what Rhode Island is to the world, it's about 0.02%. So I said, we're bending over backwards because if everybody electrified tomorrow, the grid would crash.
Yeah.
There's no money to upgrade the grid. And that's the way, you know, the grid, we're being powered by natural gas. Nobody ever wants to talk about nuclear, but
Also, the homeowner gets punished. The homeowner gets punished.
do.
I got punished. I built a house in 2014. I put geothermal in it. I had to pay extra for a deeper well. I had to pay extra to have all that stuff done. I put the geothermal in. I put LED lights in. I did spray foam insulation because that's what they wanted. You know, if you want a really energy efficient house, I did the better windows. I'm like, okay. The first year after that, when I got the 30% back for the geothermal and, you know, and a couple other percent back for some of the other things, the first year I was like, I did a really good job. I only had one bill. I had an electric bill. That's all geothermal is. Geothermal is just pumps, you know. I think on average I was paying $250 a month to heat and cool a 3,300 square foot house, and I was like, that's pretty good. My dad's on oil and he's paying almost 3 times that. Well, that didn't last. 47% increase on electricity,
right.
and then 25% increase on electricity, and then I'm paying as much as he was, or is paying. I'm up around $700 a month on average, from $250 when I first started, and I did everything they told me to do.
Right.
We want you to do this to get emissions friendly, and I did it, and they porked me, and so how are you going to convince people to do that in the future if you can't do it now?
Because they're talking about retrofitting. They want everybody to retrofit the heating systems. Then the other thing they want to do is new construction. They're always talking about affordable housing. That's gotten out of reach for people. But all of the energy efficient policies that they make you install in your home when you do it, it's incrementally better. It's not exponentially better, but it might add $10,000 to $14,000 to the cost of the home. So how does that make it more affordable for people? Because the developer or whomever's building the house, they're just going to add that cost to the top of the bill. So you're still going to end up paying for it. Yeah. So all of these policies that the General Assembly is forcing upon us is causing these costs to go up, yet they're over there saying, we're saving you money, we're doing all this great work. I talked about something the other day where the senator was, in my area, was one of the co-sponsors, and it was for gas hookups. She said, we're going to save you money on your gas bills, because right now, if you connect your home to natural gas or business, the cost of connection is spread out through the whole network. And she said, we're going to isolate it to only either your home or your business, and only that person is going to pay for the cost of the hookup. But really, if you read the bill, every other word says climate, 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 climate. And the reason why they're doing it is they want to make the cost of using natural gas so expensive that you automatically skip that and go right to heat pumps. So that's an affordable way to heat your home right now, natural gas. Right. But they're making it so expensive, and they're basically gaslighting you, no pun intended, and saying that this is going to save ratepayers money because you're not paying for everybody else's hookup. But meanwhile, all of those people that have to pay for it, it's going to cost them significantly more, or they won't do it because they can't afford that. It's a backdoor way to get you to do.
Yeah, you would do that.
Well, it's a short-term memory problem. Like a senator goes in and passes this thing to help people. Put in, like I said, put in a geothermal. We're going to help you, and then when the energy price comes over to get voted on the increase in energy price, well, they don't put two and two together. Like we in Cumberland, you could see it last year for the taxes. We had a 3% cap. They voted to put it to 3.5%, right? But they put a sunset on it, right, which was a year. So the town council just voted again to go to 4%, but they didn't vote to amend the ordinance that said 3%. They just said, fuck it, we don't care. Yep. We'll vote for 4%. We don't have to amend that. So now we're like, we're at 4%. But they never amended this. It was sunsetted. They should, to stop them from doing it, but they did it. And there's nobody there just 7 people on the council, and the mayor and the solicitor.
We spoke up.
The solicitor who, as far as I can tell, hasn't had a contract for 5 years.
Yep.
And the town charter says that you have to have a contract every year, but nobody says that. The town council president says, "Oh, we're gonna move our solicitor to a private firm. If it doesn't work out for us, we'll go back to a solicitor." It's 3 times the money, but they just forget. It's like convenient. They forget. They don't go back to it. They just say it. So when you say we're gonna, these energy efficient solutions are gonna save, the planet, and they're going to save you money, and then you jack up the electric bills, not you, but I mean, the people that are voting for it. Somebody says, hey, wait a minute, you told me if I did this, this, and this, I was going to save money and I was going to save the planet, and then you screwed me when you jacked up, when you put all these extra costs into my electric bill. They don't say, oh, I made a mistake, I'm going to repeal that. They don't say that. They say 30% of your bill. No, they bring 30 bureaucrats in, or people from Rhode Island Power to explain to you why you're wrong and this is good for you and this, you know what I mean? And then the people that voted for it sit there and they just nod. When the people that can't afford their house anymore are sitting there screaming like, what the hell's going on? What are you doing for me? And they're just like, just elect me. But the problem is, like, we're talking a couple of hundred people. that comment on Facebook, out of a 42,000 person town, Cumberland, 45,000 person town, and then how many people were at that meeting that didn't work for the town? 15.
Yeah, 15. Yeah.
15 people to go. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yep.
it's just it's. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just frustrated.
No, some of our policies don't make any sense, but I also look at that and say everything is so focused on CO2 emissions. I said we have 400 miles of coastline in Rhode Island. We are called the Ocean State for a reason. Why aren't we focused more on Narragansett Bay and on making our beaches and shore coastlines more resilient? And if we're going to spend money, why don't we spend it on things that will actually impact Rhode Islanders as opposed to the CO2 emissions? It's okay to have cleaner. If somebody elects to drive an electric vehicle, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, their choice. It's not that they were forced to do it.
Yeah.
But we are the Ocean State. We are in our area, South County. We're dependent on tourism, and if we had dirty beaches, if we had erosion and people can't enjoy the shoreline, we have no industry to fall back on. That is our industry. It's tourism.
Right. But like you said, if somebody elects to drive an electric vehicle, let them.
Yeah.
The problem is if they're motivated to do it by the fact that everyone's telling them, it's going to be cheaper, and then a year after they buy their electric vehicle, electricity goes up 47%.
Yeah.
Then it's like what the hell do you just push that and then you screwed the guy.
So we are missing one important piece, Jason, and that was when you first started buying your EVs. Registration was a certain amount. Now, when people are re-registering their electric vehicles, they're getting hit with this extra tax. And the reason why they're getting hit with the extra tax is because they're no longer buying gas. There's a gas tax, and part of it is for infrastructure. Short term, it's the same thing that you said about when you put your
my
geothermal in. You were at this really nice low level, but all of a sudden we lost all this extra money from somewhere. Now you have to make up for it.
Yeah, we lost the money from me buying oil or buying natural gas. I didn't have the opportunity for natural gas because we don't have gas lines that go up. Yeah.
But that also goes back to what I said earlier, and we're talking about taxes, even the millionaire's tax. Today it's at this level. Tomorrow it could be at any other level.
Go down.
Yeah, it never goes down. Oh, it could go down. It could go down. That's right. The amount they collect never goes down, but the threshold could go down. Right. But it's just a sliding scale.
I think McKee tried to change the dates on some of that green energy stuff that you were talking about before, and the legislature said, nope, not
You wanted
that,
to push it back, right?
Right?
He wanted to push it back.
He
yes.
wanted to make it more reasonable for dates
right.
and things of that nature, and then they said, no, that ain't happening.
Because if we don't hit those numbers, then the groups can sue the state of Rhode Island. It's actual legislation that we could be on the hook for penalties. And we know we're not going to hit it. We know we're not going to hit it.
Was it 2035? Is that the number? Is that what the
2030, 2040, 2050. But the state had a report at sometime this spring that said we will not be hitting these numbers.
Right.
They were honest about it. They were honest.
Particularly
and the legislature is ignoring the state's own commission or the research that was done.
No, that's just fiscally irresponsible.
But it's because you have zealots who don't want to eliminate or amend those because they think they're going to lose momentum.
Right. Yeah. Right.
When the numbers change, when the data changes, I'm an electrical engineer by training.
Yes.
You have to make the change to go along with it. You can't just ignore it and say, "Well, I hope it'll get better." It's not going to get better.
It's not going to get better. No.
Speaking of McKee, and I'm not asking you to make a decision.
Sorry, Mar's name.
I'm not asking you to make any comments, pro or con for whoever the governor is. I know as a Democrat that's very sensitive. Now, but he did have an ad recently with the windmills in the background where he said, they say how
Yes.
I forget what exactly they said on the ad, but I've seen it 5 times on my
About
Facebook.
Trump trying to pull the money away, and
Trump
they got the money back and do it.
Which way does Narragansett lean? I mean, are you just Narragansett? Is your
Narragansett, North Kingstown, and Block Island.
or Narragansett? I know Block Island's probably against.
Block Island's definitely against.
Oh my God, Block Island probably.
They didn't see any change in their electric bill, and that's what they promised.
Which way do the people of Narragansett, North Kingston, and Block Island sway on the windmills? Are they glad that they're there?
You know, that's an interesting question, Jason, because are we talking about the people on Facebook, or are we talking about others? Because
people that
ones that live there.
the people
Your
that
actual
you speak to,
constituents,
people you
yeah.
speak to, because I remember, I'm going to say 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. No, five maybe. Because his family has some property down off of Route 108, and I go to Fisherman's Memorial. I camped there, and they had that construction where they dug that trench right down the middle of the road, all the way through, And I thought, my God, this is a giant operation for this whole thing, and has it paid dividends? Has it?
Well, the people that I've talked to are for cleaner energy, they're for renewable energy, but they're not necessarily for the windmills. And not only is it, something that when you're looking out over the water, it's now obstructing your view. But, as the general manager of Bonner Shores Beach Club, we're constantly, good thing we generate surpluses because we're constantly replacing equipment because we are on the beach. I always tell people you might have a beach house, but we're a house on the beach.
Right.
We're right there. So the average life expectancy of any equipment we buy is half of what it would be anywhere else. So anything that is like 10-year shelf life would be 3 to 4 years.
No, I used to sell boats.
Well, so now think about a windmill. This windmill is actually sunk in the ocean. And, there's the amount of energy it took to create all that stuff.
Add that into it.
Yeah, add that into it too. And then the maintenance of it and the oil that it takes to keep those things spinning. And it's just not, if you think about it, it's not as clean as you think it is. And then what's the end of life on that thing? Because once it stops operating, you have to dismantle it and do something with it. Similar to the EVs, nobody's thought about what happens to the batteries when the
Buried in the ground, right?
yeah, well, you can't really reuse those batteries, and the battery is the hardest part to get rid of. So, all of this stuff sounds good, but there's never any. What's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next?
When solar was the first thing that came around before EVs, and I did it 100 times. I did the calculations on solar, and for the it was all these companies coming out of Utah and Colorado and wherever down in North Carolina, and people knocking on my door, constantly. I did the numbers, and the numbers just never worked out.
It's like a 20-year payback.
Yeah,
In the beginning of it.
but they give you the here's what it's going to be, and it's like if the sun's out every day, and then you find out that there's a 1% degradation of the solar panels, and then we want $80,000 to install them, and you got to have a mortgage for these, and then the Rhode Island, there was a rumor that they were going to start taxing what you made for your electric bill as like a dividend. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so the money the only offset money you would have made, you could be in a deficit if you did it, because they're like, you're making this money to pay your electric bill off. We're going to tax you. If you made $500 that month on solar, but your bill was only $200, then that's $300 that you made extra. We're going to tax you the tax on that. And then you're like, well, wait a minute, but I'm making $50 in the winter and I'm paying $400. And no, well, we don't count that.
Well, you can't tell me it's cost effective to run cabling 25 miles out to Cox's Ledge to put a windmill in. And it's like, like, in my opinion, it's like if you're going to subsidize it, like if the product's as good as they say it is, it should stand on its own 2 feet. I shouldn't have to subsidize, what do we subsidize, 350 million or something like that? It was some ridiculous number. And it's like, I can't even imagine what the payback is on that. Without having any kind of government incentives involved. You'll never get your money back, like you said. It's like the windmill will stop running before they get money back on that thing. And let alone that it's just eyesores.
And environmentally, now there are studies that show that it's impacting fishing. It's impacting. And in Galilee, that's a huge.
I see it.
That's a huge part of the economy down there. It's.
I do a lot of fishing, and it's like the amount of whales that are washed up on shore since they put those things in is like insane. Even like the tuna in this, like the tuna, we used to have to go 50, 60 miles offshore to get the tuna, and now they're right off the coast of Black Island.
Wow.
And they plopped a whole bunch of them right in the middle of Cox's Ledge, which is probably one of the largest cod fish hatcheries in New England. And I'm like, where are all the environmentalists screaming about that? It's like, no, because, government probably gave them money to keep their mouth shut. But it's,
Allegedly.
I just don't see it.
Allegedly. Yeah, save yourself. So
But I mean, I don't know. We have all this water, like you said, like at the Blackstone and everything else. Like, I don't know, like Niagara Falls. It's like turbines. Use the, generate power that way. You already have waterfalls that are already existing. It's like, why not utilize it?
Tell you about the turbines in Cumberland on the Blackstone.
Yeah.
You go. The only reason they do it is for the subsidies, not because it's going to make anybody.
No.
It's going to lower the power bill or anything. It's because so the company that puts them in can make the money.
Correct.
And then these things are operating, and then they're doing basically next to nothing. They not. I don't want to say next to nothing, but they're not producing. They're producing power for 20 or 30 houses or whatever. But they took some of that public area, cordoned it off, put the turbine in there, got their subsidy or their payment for doing it, and then the thing is just there forever.
And that's the selling point, because I've looked at these on my roofs in these buildings, and it's a 5-year payback, and it's like, and then it's actually a good investment for the investor, like you just said, because you get the upfront depreciation, you get the 30% back from the feds and the state, which makes it help make it a 5-year payback, and then so I guess and then National Grid is paying you more for the power than what they're selling it for on the other end. Because we subsidize it in our bills. There's a dollar amount on your bill that goes to fund these programs.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's not, in my opinion, I agree with you. Like, I'm all for renewable energy if we can get to the point where it makes sense. Just not there yet. It's kind of like, it's like the EV cars. You put out your first model, right? And it goes 10 miles, and then you got to charge it. It's like, until you can get it to 100 miles, it's like, then talk to me.
Batteries are getting better, and
Yeah.
over time the market will dictate what the next product is, because it's just supply and demand. It's capitalism. That's
But capitalism is great. The problem is bureaucracy gets in the way. Like you said, you're going to get an electric car. They're not going to get their taxes from gas. They're going to tax the electric car.
Yeah, right.
They're going to make it triple to register the electric car. They're going to,
Well, they increase your electric bills, or your electric costs so much that it costs more to charge the thing than it would be to fill it with gas.
and then the roads aren't built for these 8,000-pound sedans that are running around. So now it's cost you more for the roads, and they're going to pass that on to either the electric car or everybody. It's going to pay for that. Parking garages. I saw a big thing where there was a collapse in a parking garage because they apparently put the EVs all on one level of a parking garage, and the weight was too much, and the parking garage collapsed. Because it wasn't built. It wasn't built for 8,000-pound sedans. It was built for 2,000-pound sedans.
Right.
They also have these regulations in place that don't make sense, because I wrote about in Providence they were doing affordable housing, and one of the rules that they had was that they had to install so many EV charging ports in this affordable.
Right in Cumberland, right here. Yes. You passed it. You passed it over here.
Yeah, right over here.
But you say you don't want to minimize anybody's situation in life, but is the person that is qualifying for that affordable housing going to have an EV?
Yeah.
And you've now
Right.
you've just driven up the cost of that housing development by forcing the developer to put in these charging stations.
Correct.
And you've taken up parking spots for normal cars and things like that. So some of the rules and regulations just don't make any sense.
They don't.
That's just the problem.
When you leave here tonight, look to your right. You're going to see a building with some red trim. I don't want to talk about the company name or anything. You're going to see six or seven EV charging stations. I've never
And they make money on that.
I've never once driven by there and seen a single EV in that. Not once. You might see some gasoline pickup trucks parked there, but you're not going to see an EV. No, it's been there 5, 6, 7 years. Yes. Not once have I seen an electric vehicle charging on that thing.
Nope.
Not once.
And did they get paid to do it?
I have no idea what their economics of it are, but
You're supposed to get paid to do it. So like when you pull in and plug into that thing, there's a credit card. You put your credit card in, but you have like an account, and then the company gets a piece of it. Because I've been hit up on that with our parking lots too. I'm like, it's like, well, wait a minute. What if I put an addition on? What if I got to move the parking lot around? What if I get? And it's like, because I did one solar project, and it actually kind of screwed me because I had somebody interested in 2 adjacent properties, and they wouldn't buy it because they want to knock it down and make it one big property. But because I had a freaking solar thing on the roof, it was too costly to remove it and put it back on. So they walk away. And it's, those are the things that people don't think of. It makes sense with solar on roofs. Well, you keep the building for 20 years. Cause
Right, as long as the company doesn't go out of business.
well, when they go out of business.
That happens too. No. The company that I had 3 companies. I did the math for 3 different companies. So I wanted it. I like I said, I made my house very, very energy efficient, extremely. And it cost me, you said, $16,000 or so dollars more. It cost me a lot more than that. And I made it energy efficient because I wanted it. I said, I'm going to be here for 30, 40 years. It'll pay itself back, and I'm helping the environment. I looked into solar. The numbers never worked. But then the one that I got closest with, I just found out a friend of mine, because he went with him. He started giving me his reports about, was it as efficient as they said it was going to be? He said, well, it's pretty close. Then it wasn't. Then he went down for a month. And he couldn't get anyone to come do it. So that 1 month he went down, like everything he saved was out the window because he had to pay regular 1 month. It was all out the window. And then he emailed me like probably 3 months ago saying that the company that put the stuff on his roof for 25 years went out of business. So now he's got nobody covering that anymore. And at the time he was like 12 years in. So it was. Yeah, about 12, because that was about a couple of years after I built my house. About 12 years in, so he's got another 17 years of what should have been a 25-year warranty that now he's on the hook for. He can sue him. You know what I mean?
What are you going to get?
What are you going to get? You're going to get lawyer's bills. So you're going to get.
Bankrupt, there's no money.
Yeah.
Have you guys been following anything with the sludge in the
It's a
Kingstown?
plant that they want to.
That's in Kwanzaa, right? Is that Kwanzaa they want to
Saga says they're not doing it anymore or something.
Yeah,
like that?
Woonsocket's an incinerator, and this is a new technology that they're proposing for Quonset called pyrolysis. So it's low oxygen, and it's a different than incineration. But what's happening is now they've just approved the commission to study it, and the unfortunate part about it is the sludge plant that was approved in November of 2024.
Yep.
And just in March, all of a sudden, it became an issue, and people were like, "How could this possibly have happened?"
Exactly.
And I did a video on it. I said, "Well, if this was approved in 2024, and our public officials did not know about it, shame on you, because this is a significant impact to the town of North Kingstown and the state of Rhode Island, because we need to send our sludge somewhere. It's not, but they're winding down the Woonsocket incinerator, so the sludge has to go somewhere. If you ship it out of state, very expensive. You're going to all pay for that. And we're creating sludge on a regular basis. The other thing is,
What is sludge from?
sludge is like when it goes into the wastewater treatment, it's the byproduct that is after it goes. So they clean the water, and the water gets just put back into, like in Narragansett, it actually gets put into the ocean, but it's actually clean water that gets in the ocean. It's all the byproducts, the
Yeah, Brett and I used to do that. Brett and I used to play in that.
That pipe and scalp.
Right, yeah, it was warm. It was nice and warm. We used to go sit. I used to get cold in the ocean and go sit in the warm. It was like a little pool. We sit in the warm water. Like,
So that's a misnomer.
No, I know.
But that's
stormwater.
stormwater.
Yeah,
That's
stormwater.
not coming from from the wastewater treatment plant. Yeah, which everyone thinks it's coming from the wastewater. It's not. They're like they're pumping sewage.
between Scarborough and Narragansett Beach. That was like the demarcation line, close to it.
But it was a big hullabaloo, and there was something that has been approved since November of 2024. You have elected officials from the state down to local who all of a sudden said, "How did that happen?
Yeah, of course,
And
of
where did
course.
that come from?"
Yeah,
So either
it's
you
not
knew
popular
about
anymore,
it.
so it's like,
well,
oh my God.
You either knew about it and didn't say anything, or you weren't doing your job and you didn't know about it. So how does that happen? And now they have a moratorium on it. The Senate is going to study. They love doing commissions up in Smithville. Love commission.
Brian Coogan loved that stuff.
Punt. You're going to drop back 17 and punt, and that's what they're doing with this commission as well. They're not going to come out with their findings till April of 2027. Meanwhile, the Woonsocket plant is winding down as we speak. All the sludge that is currently going there has to go somewhere.
I'm going to tell you, I live Brad and I both, but I grew up in Cumberland Hill, which is on the Woonsocket line. I'm a member. I used to go to a Chinese restaurant right across the Ho Kong, right across from the waste treatment plant.
Yep.
In the parking lot, you're like, I hope that's not the restaurant. So, and it was, thank God. I mean, it was close, but that's why it's demolished. The restaurant's demolished now. But I am on some of the Woonsocket Facebook pages. You might not have that long because the citizens of Woonsocket are ready to take sledgehammers to that thing and torches and burn it down because it's apparently the smell.
I think the operator of that plant is partially to blame for it because they're not necessarily. It's a third party. The city of Woonsocket owns the plant, but a third party is actually running the operation for them. And I think that it needs to be some significant investment needs to be put into the facility to improve the process.
Yep.
And that's just not happening. They finally said, stake in the ground, we're done.
We're done.
Move it somewhere else. They still have a wastewater treatment plant that is generating sludge. So Woonsocket themselves is going to have to figure out where to put it. Narragansett, we have an agreement with, and so does North Kingstown with Cranston. So there are two incinerators in the state. One's in Woonsocket, one is in Cranston, and that's maxed out. If you're a city or town that is sending your sludge to Woonsocket right now, you are screwed because when that thing closes down, there's no other capacity left in Rhode Island. You have to ship it out of state. When you ship it out of state, that's going to cause everybody's rates to go up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this plant was approved in 2024. It's on hold right now. If miraculously in April when they come out with this commission, it's going to take years to build something else here. And other states are getting smart. They're saying, we're not taking your sludge. You don't want to take our sludge? We're not going to take your sludge. Yeah. So what do you do with it? The stuff is just going to keep piling up.
Apparently you elect it. Put it in the state house.
It's already full.
So that program's in limbo now down in Quonset for the.
It's in limbo. They actually put a moratorium on it, so they stopped it. The residents, and in fairness to the residents, there was a lack of transparency, and there were two members of the town council in North Kingstown who actually voted against it. Yeah. But during March, when it came out, they were like, "Oh, how did that happen? How did that happen? You actually voted on it."
It's not a lack of transparency; it's a lack of paying attention.
Yeah, that too.
I'm going to tell you, like everything I told you earlier about Cumberland, all that stuff. It's all on video. All of our stuff is on video. Yeah, you're first.
These are public.
Yeah, go back. Google the plant. Go back, watch the videos. You're going to see exactly what your town council people did. You can do it here. Everyone complains about we have a wedding venue at Diamond Hill that costs $8 million. It was like unbelievably expensive, and everyone's like, "How'd that happen?" Go back and watch it. Go back, watch the meetings. You can watch them online. Now the mayor is saying, "Oh my God, we always knew we were going to be in this financial limbo. That's why we got to increase taxes." Yeah. Not when he wanted that approved. When he wanted that approved, everything was great. We're going to be fine.
And that was approved for $4 million.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He banks, and he knows he's been a politician since '96.
Yeah.
He knows nobody's going to go back and watch the video, and he knows that you can scream at it. Like, I'm sure there are people in your town screaming at the fact that the town council approved that till they're blue in the face, but nobody's paying attention, And then when the shit starts smelling and it hits their house, they go, "Wait a minute, how on earth did this happen?"
Yeah. 100%.
Well, you know what happened? 19 different friggin' meetings that you just ignored. That's how it happened.
I actually think, though, this year there is something different happening out there, and I think people are starting to pay attention.
I think people are paying attention, yeah. I think people are paying attention.
And, it's...
Where do you feel it, Gary?
In my soul.
At my campaign events, I talk about apathy. I think that my biggest opponent is I'm not running against somebody else. I'm running against this concept that nothing can ever change in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
That's what people feel. And if you don't get out and vote, you're right. Nothing will change.
It will change.
If you keep electing the same people, if you're not happy with the direction the state's going, and you keep electing the same people, guess what's going to happen?
We'll see.
Nothing. No change.
We'll see. And again, there's a disclaimer that everybody who's watching the show, all 6 or 7 people that watch all of our shows, and I'm not saying all the way through, are going to hit. I've heard this 100 times. Brad decided to run for mayor. I said, he told me, I was like, I'll help you, and it was just me and him. And then it was me and him and Gary. Then it was me and him and Scott. There was me and him and Matt. There was me and him and all the like it was like a snowball coming down.
Yes.
Right. The election happened. You know, Brad didn't win. We kept in touch for a little bit. You know, and then everything started to dilute. And you know, we are over a little over 2 years away from the next election. I mean, there are Senate elections and House elections. But from changing the town, we're a little over 2 years away. So I'll tell you, because we had that same feeling that people are on board, that people want change, that people are paying attention now. And we'll see if we can even get our own crew to come back together, or if they're just disgruntled and they're like, well, we tried, we gave it our best shot, it didn't happen, we're done. Because that's going to be a big indicator to me. Because I am still. We do a lot of state stuff here. We do a lot of politics. We do a lot of human interest. We haven't done a lot of town stuff. But after we're going to get at it. We're going to get at it. But right now, the number one thing is we have these state elections happening. State elections happening. We got a little reprieve. We'll go back to the town stuff. So
The league is giving me a little hope.
coming back to the town. Anyway. But we'll see how, because I am frustrated. I'm on the school committee. I put out calls for help all the time. I put out stuff on Facebook, and like you said, the Facebook people are like, they're out there, they're this, they're that. You know, like when you asked about the windmills, like who are you asking me cares? The actual people that live here or the people that are on Facebook? Well, we'll get hundreds and hundreds of views and comments, and people that are very passionate. And you show up to a school committee meeting and there's one person that it's unbelievable to me. Like you said, like it's not apathy, because they engage. They just don't. I don't know what it is.
You know, it's unfortunate because people have busy lives. They have things going on, and some people are working multiple jobs to keep the food on the table, pay gas.
Yeah.
And affordability is
This is low on the priority list.
yeah. So some of these other issues, they're important, but they're not urgent. Yeah. And that's what it's up to us to to try to mobilize these people. When I say my remarks at our campaign events, I'm actually kind of shocked that when I'm up there speaking and I see people nodding along.
Yeah.
They're actually paying attention to me.
Actually, listen,
Because you think it's a local event and you're in a room full of people that are familiar to you, but they're actually taking in what I'm saying, and they're saying, I volunteered. I'm going to put signs on my lawn. I'm going to help you go through the voter list. I'm going to pick out who I know. I'm going to make calls for you. That's all. That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
This is all retail politics at this local.
yeah, absolutely.
At the state level. So. I'm hopeful that people are going to engage and participate.
Well, I'll be honest with you. So, like, after my election, it was kind of like I felt like 85% of the people don't pay attention.
So you're out knocking on doors, right?
But the one thing I do have hope in is that the league, all of a sudden I get introduced to the league, I started, going to their meetings and hanging out with those guys. And I'm like, oh, finally, somebody with some common sense who actually wants to make a real change, but they're getting the people that normally I don't think would be involved because everybody's getting hit in the wallet for the most part.
So the greatest thing about the league is it's people over party, because they're supporting both Democrats and Republicans.
Both sides.
And they've supported me. I've known Dave Levesque way longer than the league has been in existence.
Yep.
And, he was one of the first people I talked to, because we always talk politics.
Great guy.
And the great guy, he's always somebody that was a sounding board. Then what I told Dave before I told my wife, I was actually afraid to tell my wife. It took me about a month and a half to get the courage up enough to tell her, because, having two full-time jobs already, she goes, are you nuts? How is that by the time to do this? But somehow making it work, and with Dave and what the league is accomplishing, they've supported me, but they're not telling me what to do.
Yeah.
And he knows I'm my own person. That he's known me before the league even existed. So
I feel like they're rallying the silent majority. So like the people that are afraid to stick their necks out a little bit, like, as a small business in the state, it's like you don't want to almost go against the machine, kind of.
it's a business advocacy group,
Yeah.
and how do you help Rhode Island? business and economics are the foundation for everything. You build a good economy, then all of a sudden everything else, you can do all these good social programs if you have a good solid economic foundation beneath you. And that's kind of what we're always trying to do, the social programs in Rhode Island, and we do a good job of providing people with these safety blankets, but somehow you got to pay for this stuff.
Oh, 100%.
It's not free. None of it's free.
It's not free.
And you could even do more if you were more efficient with what you were spending. So
Yeah, and that's where we talk.
Yeah, we're driving businesses out of the state. So you need more business coming back into the state.
yeah,
It's like,
I know the governor really has to walk that fine line, because he is, Hasbro left,
yeah.
and now he is going after Helena Folks because of CVS. But
Yeah.
God forbid CVS.
Imagine they leave.
Right,
Oh,
right.
or the world are in.
That's a lot of good paying jobs in that corporate headquarters.
Think about all the businesses that got hurt by the bridge fiasco.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean, like,
Put people out of business.
yeah. I mean, if I was Alina, I would just put a list of all the businesses that went out of business from the bridge.
I don't know.
Like, my God, you know what I mean? Like, and he, so I've seen the governor. He, I'm on a school committee. He was at the Cumberland graduation. I'm in the Portuguese marching band. I'm not Portuguese. I mean, with your name, you're probably Portuguese. No, you're Armenian. Yeah, I know. I have a really good Armenian friend who I can't pronounce his name. He's been a good friend of mine for 15 years. I can't pronounce.
You don't know his name.
I know his name is Vic with a K. But I can't pronounce his name. I'll show you. I'll show you the last name, and I'll let you take a crack at it.
It's gonna be Vic and Jaharjan.
Oh my God.
Jaharjan. Vic and Jaharjan.
You always said Vic with a K. I know him.
You know, we met through jiu-jitsu.
I knew that.
The Armenian, all these Armenians know each other. And he knew my heart doctor, and I had to go get my heart. And he was like, "Oh, my dad's best friend."
Did they have a hard time finding it?
No, you just feel for the cold spot. It's easy.
Well, you can say Bamaki. So
No, I was just gonna say I've seen him at all these different events. He's coming out. I've done these same events, and haven't seen him at any of them. Now all of a sudden this year he's at every coming to you.
has to. That's the only chance he has.
And he's a friend. He's a Cumberland guy. He was a Cumberland mayor. He was a friend. I had the family. You know what I mean?
Edward's son. Yeah, he didn't do any help.
But he was my father's friend. He was your father's friend. He was, but the problem is, do the job, do it well. If you can't do it well, have enough,
Hire somebody that can do it.
have enough self-awareness that you say, hey, maybe this was too big for me, and I'm going to do the thing that's better for the state. Step aside.
I'm surprised he wants it again.
No kidding. You can see it in his eyes, though. He's not 100% behind what he is.
I don't know, but I don't want to shit on anybody who's not here. But what are you going to do about letting a bridge get to the point where,
We would fall down.
yeah, like how does that happen?
Looking pretty.
And it's not, but it's not totally his fault. It was predecessor. But you could have identified it. Like when you went to Bonner Shores, I'm sure you inherited some stuff that needed to be fixed. Or
We have a strategic plan that we follow, and we have.
Well, so do we. We had a comprehensive plan in Cumberland that had nothing to do about a wedding venue at Diamond Hill, but that got overturned and approved. So
What's the difference?
Are you against love too?
hasn't worked out for me.
Oh, geez.
Hasn't worked out.
Gee, I wonder why.
So you were talking about Kwanzaa. I'm just curious, like the gantries, right? And the Ocean State being down there with St. Job Lot. Is there any conversation about that? I mean, because they're going to get whacked really badly if they put them back up again.
Yeah, the tolls are an issue for them. I think what are they doing? Investing $19 million in order to get the tolls back up and running.
Software right up
Right. They're been dormant for a while. Yeah, it's another tax that's just going to get passed along to a consumer, because as a business owner myself, I know that every time costs go up, you can't keep cutting your margin. You can only eat that margin so many times, or cut it so many times. They're just going to pass that cost along to the consumer, and anybody that doesn't think so is not really paying attention. No. And then you have to ask. That's infrastructure money, and I don't know of anybody. We did an event out in Block Island. I was out there with Leah Beauclair, and one of the most common themes from everybody was infrastructure, even the roads on. And I would not think that would be a big issue for Block Island, but the roads are terrible in Block Island. So everywhere around the state, it's either something that is under construction or needs to be under construction. It's just our infrastructure is just, grumbling.
Likely for that period of time.
We live in the Northeast, so it's a harsh environment because of the winter, and water freezes and expands, and it causes all sorts of havoc. But you have to have some sort of preventive maintenance in order to get ahead of this stuff, and that's not that's just not doing it.
Basic.
No, the problem is the priorities, right? So it's like, we have a budget that's the same size budget as New Hampshire, but theirs is a 2-year budget,
Right.
and they're 4 times the size of us. And
half the-
those roads are immaculate up there, because I think they probably actually take the money from the tolls and actually use it on the infrastructure. So that's the difference. It's like if you don't put any, it's the same thing here. It's like we spent $8 million on a lodge over there versus now we're doing, like I said earlier, we're spending $166,000. Somebody tell us that we need to replace the water lines on Mendon Road, which we've all known for 10 years that they need to be replaced. But we're going to spend money on a study, and that's a $10 million job. We could have taken that money and put it over there and replace the water lines and been the infrastructure.
Study just kicks the can down the road.
That's all it does. Yeah, just delays it.
Yeah,
Just delays it.
Greases palms.
Yep.
The study that I was talking about, though, with the sludge, you're talking about 21-person commission. How long is it going to take to stand that committee up?
Oh, my dear.
Because you're going to have to do interviews and get all these different types of area experts, and I don't think that those 21 people, based on the background that I expect them to be, are going to come to any consensus. Because it's just
number to get in.
Yeah, exactly right.
20
Yeah.
people. Definitely 20 people.
It's more than 20 people, and there's no representation from the town side, so that's going to be an issue.
Oh, unbelievable.
So have we covered everything? Is there anything else you want to bring out to the people in Narragansett and North Kingstown? No, I mean,
Tell us
you
where
go to your website,
Yeah,
right?
tell us where they can find you, where you can donate. And
Mark for RI is my website, so you just www.markforri.com.
Mark number 4.
Yeah, Mark number 4ri.com, or if you used FOR, it would still come
good.
to the letter. Yep.
Okay.
And we do have a little contribute button that people can click on, and we appreciate any size donation or contribution. I like to say it's an investment, and I'm pretty frugal with the money. I've been a pretty good fundraiser so far, but I haven't spent a lot yet because I'm looking for the right things to invest in it. Similar to how I think I would be if I were to go to the State House. It's not my money. It was just money that was invested in me, and I'm looking to make the most impact with it that I possibly can. But I think business experience is something that's sorely needed up in the State House. And with 30 plus years of different types of business experience, plus managing a large enterprise like Bonnet Shores Beach Club, it gives me a little bit more of a unique sense of what can happen in Rhode Island that the people that are up there right now just don't have.
don't have it.
Yeah.
Nope, agreed.
Oh, I know the Armenians have a long memory.
And we know each other too.
Yeah, I talk to Vic all the time.
Yep.
Vic and I talk a lot about this stuff that happened in 1915 and all that time frame.
Horrible stuff.
The people at the State House can't remember what they voted on last year. Like literally, we agreed.
We don't need to read those bills anyway. That's why
You did bring up something important though. You talked about 1915. That was the Armenian genocide.
Yeah, I know.
1.5 million Armenians were massacred at the hands of the Ottoman Empire. That's the modern day Turkey. And my grandparents. The reason why I'm in Rhode Island is because my grandparents independently lost families, came to this country, didn't know the language, rebuilt everything from the bottom up. There's a strong Armenian community in Providence, and that's where I grew up in this. That's my
Apples
background.
Ave, that church at the end of Apples Ave, you can see the Armenian flag flies.
But the most important part of that whole story is there's nothing anybody could do to me that hasn't been done to my grandparents. They came here, they prospered, they succeeded, they raised good, hardworking people, which were my parents. I'm doing the same thing in this generation, so there's nothing anybody's going to throw at me that I can't handle.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, that's wonderful. We're looking forward to your election and your success with
Thank
that.
you.
Jason's got a tag here that he wants to talk about a little bit. But his sign fell over.
Clay Cinema Productions. Call or text. There's the number right there. You can see it right there. 978-877-1555.
How'd you get that? That's pretty good. And it's just some luck.
Yeah, look. Also, please like and subscribe. Cumberland Unfiltered Podcast on YouTube, Cumberland Unfiltered Podcast on Instagram, and Cumberland Unfiltered Podcast on Facebook.
Appreciate you coming out. Good luck. Good luck in the race. Absolutely. Good luck. You got our support.
That's a good. All right, we'll wrap it up. Thanks, guys.